We are live at the new Smyrna Speedway, and it's time to get things kicked off here with a little bit something different here. It's the Real Sim Racing Super Late Model Series live this evening on MW Productions up at the broadcast booth. My name is Evan Pasoko, and Lance Johnson going to be joining me up here for this 125 lap affair. Lance, welcome out to the racetrack.
Thank you, Evan. Definitely looking forward to this race tonight. I see some really action-packed racing here, side by side here in New Smyrna. I'm looking forward to it, man.
And the new Smyrna Speedway is such an iconic racetrack, hosting the World Series of stock car racing in real life. And just going to give you a couple of facts here as the drivers wind through the qualifying session about the new Smyrna Speedway, located in Samsula, California. It is an asphalt surface racetrack at 0.48 miles in length, and the weather this evening is going to be 78 degrees Fahrenheit under the lights, partly cloudy, winds to the north at 2 miles an hour, relative humidity of 55%. And Lance, this is the first time that Real Sim Racing is kicking off with this super late model series, and it's really been a big buzz, this new car, throughout iRacing the past few weeks.
Yeah, the super late models have really been a big deal. You see a lot of guys running this thing day by day, and it's becoming the big hit on iRacing. It's usually the trucks at Talladega, but now it's short tracks in the super late model. But I think we should take everybody to the qualifying times right now. I think we have around 18 cars that have qualified, and take you down the top 5 right now. Right now on the first qualified is number 60, John Higman Jr. with a 17.277. We have in the second position, we have number 2, Dwayne Vincent at 17.281. And third, we have the number 3, Jonathan Cattle at 17.287. And number 4, we have number 83, Cale Gale at 17.299. And number 5, we have the number 8, Chad Cole at 17.301.
A lot of big names in for this evening's race. One name that you touched on there, fifth right now at the provisional qualifying standings, and that is Mr. Chad Cole. Chad Cole coming off of walking away with a Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series Championship just 2 nights ago. He also walked away with a Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series Championship last season, and that series is also going to be starting up here next week. So Chad Cole is on a roll, and we're going to see if he can win in any vehicle, because again, going to the super late model, you mentioned, normally hop on a hosted forums, or the hosted section rather, on iRacing, and it's old Talladega Daytona trucks, Gen 6, but these super late models have really taken it over, and I mean, they're a hell of a fun thing to drive.
You heard it first. Chad Cole is on a roll, leaving the rhymes. You've been rhyming the whole time, man. I'm loving it. They're just going to run the drivers down here for a briefing, and we're going to get lined up and get ready to go underway here.
Yeah, the drivers are going to go through their final pre-race instructions and make sure they know what's going to be going on. Again, it's going to be a 125-lap affair this evening. And Lance, you were walking through the top 5 guys there in the provisional qualifying standings. You mentioned Cale Gale. That's a familiar name that a lot of people know. He spends a lot of time on iRacing. Jonathan Cadell also in the 3 machine, sitting in third right now. And I think that pretty much all the drivers have taken their time, so that is going to be our final qualifying positions. But just to double check, we'll let these guys run through the final minute and a half or so of qualifying to see if anybody puts something up. Dwayne Vincent also up there. So a lot of these guys that you hear their names around in the other Real Sim Racing leagues, and you see them along the iRacing service, coming into this race in the new Smyrna Speedway. Lance, I know that you took a couple laps, so to speak, here before they went green. What's the track like?
The setup they got right now, as you may or may not know, is not an open setup track tonight. They do have restrictor plates on, so every driver is going to be running the same setup tonight, and it's going to be a pretty equal field. The track, it's feeling pretty good. They got a really nice plate going on in there, and I took a couple laps around, like you said. Obviously hit the wall at full speed.
The first turn.
The first turn. I kind of lied when I said I got a couple laps. I think I got one in about a quarter. But other than that, it felt good. You can look forward to seeing a lot of guys digging their nose in on the inside. Being real aggressive, banging some doors around. I'm excited to see names like John Higman Jr., Dwayne Vincent, and Jonathan Cattle, Cale Gale, and Chad Cole out there going at it. Your top 5 qualifiers.
Yeah, definitely this racetrack, very racy and provides us some very exciting racing. And we expect no less than that this evening as qualifying is going to round down and that is going to make it official for your qualifying drivers rather that order. So we'll take you down through the running order that they will take the green flag in. So front row is going to be the 60 of John Higman Jr. In second position going to be Dwayne Vincent. Jonathan Cadell in the 3 machine going to be starting in third. Cale Gale in fourth position in the 83 machine, and rounding out the top 5 is the 8 of Chad Cole.
All right, we got in the 6th position, we have Daniel T. Murray. In the 7th, we got Kyle Taraska. In the 8th, we have Matt Lacrosse. In the 9th, we have Brian Harvey. In the 10th position, we have Chad Schilling.
Looking from there on back, the 11th starting position going to belong to the 77 of J. Randall Watkins. Jay Horton in the 23 machine going to be starting in 12th. Kevin Linden going to roll the 48 off the grid in that lucky number 13th starting position. Glenn Campbell in the 44 machine going to be starting in 14th, and rounding out the top 15 is the 61 of Denny Clark.
There we go. That. In the 17th, we got Scott Simley. In the 18th, we have Aaron R. Groshkopf. I am not good with foreign name. Groshkopf. Sorry. Getting it right here with the names. In the 19th position, we have the number 7, Brian Bibo. Why did I get all the names that were really hard to pronounce? I'm the guy. Anyway, drivers are getting ready to grid up here, and they're going to start rolling around, take around 2 laps here, and we'll go green flag racing.
And just recently mentioned here before we go back to the green flag, or rather before we get green flag racing, is that the winner of this race is going to get a custom trophy from everybody here at MW Productions. So they're ready to go, and it's going to add a little bit of excitement to this race. You know that Aaron Groskopf and the 25 machine says he's going to lock the wheels on that wheelchair. It's time to go. So we're going to see how this thing goes down. The field is on the pace, or rather on the grid, which is down on the pit lane, and the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car getting them to take them around. I think it's going to be 2 laps of pace before we do take the green flag here and take a look through this field. It is going to be 19 drivers, I do believe, that are going to take a qualifying time now as the field starts to roll from the pit lane. And Lance, with your immense experience here at this racetrack, I have not driven at this track. I don't own this track. I know it's a very racy track. I know I was able to have check out the online World Series of stock car racing that was here, and this track, along with most of the short tracks on iRacing, is going to provide a hell of a show.
Indeed, indeed. You know, this is a really action-packed track. Like I said earlier, you know, not too much banking, just enough to dig that nose in there and get some good roll out of it. Obviously, you haven't raced here, but I'll tell you what, it is not an easy track to drive side by side with other drivers, and you'll see these drivers putting on a great show. It is not an easy thing to achieve, and I look forward to seeing these drivers achieving it tonight.
Yeah, this track has a little bit of progressive banking, 18 degrees on the bottom and 20 degrees on the top now as the field works at a turn number 2, and we're getting set to go green flag racing. John Higman Jr. is going to lead us to the green flag at a number 60 machine on that inside lane. Outside him, Dwayne Vincent. They're going to make up your front row as we go through turns 1 and rather 3 and 4. Now out of 4, pace car down to the pit lane field is in the hands of John Higman Jr. He is off the green flag.
John Higman getting a huge start off there. Number 3 there, going to try to pull up on him. Not going to get that much of a pull on him. He's pulling away from the field, maybe about 3 cars away.
They're making a little bit of contact for second. How about the 2 machine, Dwayne Vincent? He's going to be aggressive, and he ushers the 3 machine of Jonathan Cadell up and out of the way. Now Dwayne Vincent is going to be on the inside in the second spot, and here comes the 83 of Cale Gale trying to get to the inside of Cadell and can't get it done in 3.
Evan, I do believe you're going to see a lot of these guys driving in a line for the vast majority of the laps here. Going side by side is not the greatest option. Could lead to a wreck, and the best way to do this is slap off those laps, single file.
Especially if you're race leader, John Higman Jr., that's what you're going to want to see, and that's what we're seeing pretty much around the 5th spot and there on back. This is a long race, a reasonably long race, 125 laps scheduled for this evening's event, so I'm sure these guys have no issue with, you know, just knocking off some laps, riding around and try to get down to maybe the final 50, 25 laps before they really try to take a swing at things and try to go for that win. But right now that 60 is looking pretty stout up front. He's got 0.6 of a second lead. However, Vincent knocked 0.2 of it last time by. Yeah,
you see him flying up there, man. That's not an easy thing to do. Sorry, he definitely pulling away from the pack. They might be getting a little bit of ground here, trying to get aggressive with him. And I think that second place player wants to take that position from him. Dwayne Vincent, the number 2 machine, in the second position.
Yeah, the number 2 machine sitting P2, and right behind them, the number 3 is sitting P3. And that is going to be Jonathan Cadell, and Cadell has kind of been battling with him a little bit, trying to get around Dwayne Vincent, or at least knocking on the door and letting him know that he's there. Hasn't really gotten an opportunity to pass Dwayne Vincent, but he is right there, and the 3 machine takes a look to the inside and is going to hang on to it for now, but they are slowly chipping away at John Higman Jr. up front, but the 60 machine got to be feeling pretty comfortable right now. He's got pretty much clean racetrack in front of him. However, we are going to see our first lap machine of the evening. That's Joey Gatina in the 14 machine going into turn 3, just a couple car lengths in front of him. Now, trouble on a racetrack. Yellow flag's going to fly. We have a couple guys around.
Not sure what happened there, but you were about to see the John Higman Jr. come up on Joey Gatina there. And that would have been unfortunate to see somebody get lapped this early on, but let's resume to that caution and see what went on here.
It looks like going into the corner, Glenn Campbell in the 44 machine is going to get it at the back end of the 23 machine going into the corner, and that is going to be the 23 of Jay Horton. And Horton's going to go around, and in the checkup, the 44 is going to get on the brakes hard, and he gets steamrolled by the 61 of Denny Clark, and those 2 guys going to go around in the corner, and that's going to be our first yellow flag of the evening, so we're going to slow him back down. You touched on Joey Gatina there in the 14 machine. Was about to lose his lap, so that caution almost a saving grace for him, but something's not right in that 14 machine because he was way off the pace.
Indeed, and you know, those checkups are just going to kill a lot of guys tonight. It's just like a domino effect. You know, one guy stops, the next guy hits him, and you know, it's just continuing on from there. So hopefully we don't see that too often. We get a lot of green flag racing, but you know, dominoes are definitely not a game to play in racing.
And that's one of the tough things when you come to a short track like this is when there's 2 cars sideways in front of you, even 1 car. This track's not that wide. I mean, it's wide when it comes to racing-wise, but it's going to be pretty hard to get around a wreck in front of you. You got a wall to your right-hand side, you got a wall to your left-hand side. There's really nowhere to go, and that's really how you see most of the incidents happen at these tracks, is maybe the guy that dumps the guy per se and starts that wreck normally gets out without any harm, and it's everybody else behind him that piles in.
You know, it really leads me to think that a lot of these guys are not Pink Floyd fans, the album The Wall. You know, a lot of them are really trying to avoid that area and probably don't like to listen to that before a race, because you really
it's definitely not their pump up. No, it's not in their pre-race brief.
Because either it's the wall or the guy in front of you that you're going to hit. So either that or you get rear-ended. So it's really tough to get out of those situations, and often you get bunched up in it, unfortunately.
And that's one of the great things of short track racing is normally when it's all said and done, everybody but the leader is pretty much pissed off at the end of it. And even the leader's not the happiest.
You know, often you see a lot of guys in the lead and a lot of the finishers with banged up cars. That's just a factor of short track racing. It's down to the gridiron, really.
And this time at a turn number 4, the field is starting to group up behind that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car, and the lights are going to be extinguished on that at the front of the field. So getting set for a restart to come to green to take lap number 14 of 125 at the New Smyrna Speedway. It is still going to be the 60 of John Higman Jr. up at a number 1 spot. Dwayne Vincent still on his outside, and the question is going to be, can anybody stay with Higman Jr. on this restart, because he took off on the initial green flag, and yeah, they were slowly chipping away, but the lead that he had gained really was helping him. So let's see what Vincent, or maybe even the 3 of Cadell, can do here. Pace car down to the safety of pit lane, field in the hands of the 60. He's on the loud pedal. The green flag is going to fly again, and it's going to be a challenge for the number 2 spot side by side between Vincent and Cadell. The Cadell and the 3 machine trying to get there, and they're side by side off 2.
Joey Higman getting a lot of roll there, coming out of 1 and 2, you know, getting that huge lead again, maybe 3 to 4 cars away, and he's looking to seal that deal up there. I think he's really down to business tonight, and he wants that trophy yet.
Certainly a nice piece of hard work that he wants to walk away with. Meanwhile, back of the pack is the 2 machine that is not faring too well on the outside lane. He's going to drop back to what is now going to be the 4th position after allowing both the 3 of Jonathan Cadell and the 83 of Cale Gale to get around him. So he's going to drop back, which is showing that the inside lane definitely the preferred lane at this point.
Glenn Campbell looking to possibly get lapped here. Oh, yellow flag is out. Glenn Campbell almost getting lapped there, looking like his machine is a bit damaged. 7 machine was involved in that wreck, we hear from the tower.
Yeah, it's going to be the 7 machine of Brian Bibbo having some trouble, and looks like the 14 machine of Joey Gattina is going to be in that. And it looks like the 14 might have been pushing 3 wide, had a run on the 7 down the front straightaway, and evidently looked to the inside in turn 1. 7 machine really didn't give him room for it. 14 ends up getting into the 7. 7 pushes up and goes into the wall, and both the 23 of Horton and the 14 machine of Gattina going to pick up a little bit of damage in that incident, and bend some more sheet metal. But that's just short track racing, and that's going to put us under the 2nd yellow flag of the evening, and that's just another side by side. And that's really where you see most of the incidents, Lance, in these short track races. Is one guy is going to try to throw it into the inside. The question is, does the guy on the outside give him that spot?
Exactly, and I think that was a little bit of an unnecessary move there by Joey Gattina there. It was, I think that the number 7 there, Brian was just thinking that the outside car was there, and I think that he thought the 14 was just going to let off a bit, let the race flow, but, you got an unexpected awakening there. We believe that there might have been some connection issues there. I'm not seeing it. Okay, yeah, we might have had a bit of netcode there. It didn't look like the 14 hit him too hard, but it was kind of an unnecessary dig there. But like Evan said, it is short track racing. You can expect to see a lot of that digging throughout the race.
And you got to look at the stage that we are in this race. We're back under our 2nd yellow already on just lap number 19 of 125 here. And again, you're going to be throwing that in there down into turn number 1. Yeah, maybe when you get down to the gridiron, like you said. But then again, there's still a long way to go in this race. And you got to look at where those guys were battling for position. It did not need to be made, I don't think, at that moment. So the incident definitely avoidable. But don't tell a short track racer to not go for the gap when he thinks he sees one. And it's just hard racing is the cause of that wreck.
That's like telling me not to spin on lap 2 in New Smyrna. It's not going to happen.
Lap 1.
Well, man, I was trying to bump my confidence level a bit.
So again, still under the 2nd caution so far, and we have not had any lead changes yet. John Higman Jr. still up at a number 1 spot, and this time by going to start the 10th lap under the yellow flag conditions, and maybe getting the 1 to go. Take a look at the Ford First Mustang pace car. Lights are off, Lance, so we're going to go back green to take lap number 22 and look for some more green flag racing.
Agreed. Pace car getting ready to pull away here. John Higman Jr. looking to get that huge lead again off the start. Everybody else looking to make sure he does not get that lead. I think the number 3 machine there wants to steal that lead from him and make that lead change possible.
Let's see what happened. Jonathan Cadell on the outside lane through 3 and 4. Ford First Racing Mustang pace car going to dive down to pit lane and getting ready. There he goes, 6th machine. Just such a good restart, and he's going to take off. We're going to go side by side for 2nd. The 83 of Cale Gale going to have position on Jonathan Cadell. Cadell at the racetrack. Cale Gale going to get around him. 84 machine of Kyle Tarasca is trying to get into the mix as well. He's up the 4th.
A name that we have not seen too often around here in the fall, Kyle Tarasca there. Trying to make a run for the lead there. He wants to take it away from John Higman Jr. and John Higman Jr. is trying to defend that lead and tell him, I'm here to win it, boys.
And he's advanced since starting in the 7th spot, again up into the number 4 spot. And I was on the air with Kyle on the Monday night to close off the Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, and I know that he was looking forward to going into this race, and he was talking with Chad Cole about it again. Chad Cole locked up that championship last week. Chad Cole is sitting in 8th in his number 8 machine, so it seems like a lot of car numbers are matching position numbers. 2's in the wall, and Chad Cole's going to get a big shot.
Big contact there. Chad Cole, speaking of the devil, is going to get put into the inside wall there. That's unfortunate. He's going to suffer a lot of damage to the right side. We're on board with Jonathan Cadell. Jonathan Cadell in 3rd place right now, trying to work his way up on John Higman Jr., who is in 2nd place now. There is a caution out now.
Yeah, we're going to have some trouble on the racetrack, and we're going to slow him down once again as yet another yellow flag is going to fly, and trying to find the cause of that incident is going to be the 14 machine of Joey Gattina with a very, very light self-spin at a turn number 4. Nobody else gets collected, and a yellow flag and a flag. Going to be the 3rd yellow flag of the evening, and I think I jinxed Chad Cole because the second I start talking about him, he gets punted in the right side door, and that car's torn up, so I'd like to apologize for that.
That commentator's bad luck. Joey Katina not having a good race, so really unfortunate. This track, like I said, is not the easiest track to come around, and you're trying to fight that guy in front of you, and this is one of those tracks where you race the track, not the driver in front of you. And this is one of those cases. 23 machine and the 24 machine almost colliding. Joey obviously panicking a little bit and just losing it coming out of the turn.
I mean, he barely got those left side tires down there on the apron, and it just sucked him right around, and he really didn't have a chance of trying to hang on to that. Luckily, the two wide behind them did not get tangled in that, or rather mangled in that, because those are the kind of wrecks coming out of the corner that you can really pile a bunch of other cars into. And meanwhile, while we were looking at those guys, we have a change for the lead. It is going to be the 83 of Cale Gale, going to go to the number 1 spot as he was able to get around John Higman Jr. in the 60.
Like I said, Cale Gale really looking to pass John there, and he made it happen. He was just thinking in his head, I want that lead and I want to stay up there. And it looks like he's trying to make it happen. He's doing a great job of it tonight. Definitely running a great race.
And he's going to be able to go out to the number 1 spot at this point in the race. And a lot of people know Cale Gale, the name for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series and all of those things. And he's showing what he's got on the iRacing service. He's up to P1.
All those things. Chad Cole retired.
He's down on the pit lane and sitting in his pit box and trying to assess the damage done to his Fearless Racing machine. Again, the 8 GameStop Triton machine of Chad Cole. The car did not look 100% after he got that shot. Something out of line under the machine. So the crew trying to take a look at it and prevent taking that thing to the garage. But, I mean, he's already a lap down. He's in 20th spot. They are going for points here. They are going for a championship in this series. Again, there's a lot of big tracks on this schedule, and I can quickly skim through it again. Tonight's race is actually the Governor's Cup at the New Smyrna Speedway. Next week, we're going to places like Bristol, and in the future, I mean, South Boston, Lanier, Martinsville, Stafford, Langley, just to name a few of them. So there is a points battle on the line. Chad Cole is no stranger to winning championships. He's back out on the racetrack right now, 2 laps down in the 21st spot, which is the last place currently of all the drivers that started this race. Tough break for him, especially, I mean, trying to show up with these guys and, show what he's got and try to walk away with another title, and just getting taken out by something out of your control early.
One of the toughest things for me at short tracks is really getting away from those laps down, trying to catch up. It's really tough. And when you have a lot of great drivers like Cale Gale, John Higman Jr., Jonathan Cadell, Kyle Taraska, and Matt LaCrosse up there in the top 5, it's tough, man. And they will come around that track faster than you think. Just snap of the fingers, they're behind you and you're getting lapped. And, Chad Cole almost colliding with the number 14, Joey Katina there on the caution lap, which is really close. He's going to head into the pits again.
Chad Cole, something not right on his number 8 machine. Meanwhile, the green flag back out up front, and it's going to be the 60 of John Higman Jr., who's falling back. The 3 machine of Jonathan Cadell has been able to get around him, and now Kyle Taraska into number 84 machine, and his Blue Ridge tire machine is on his inside. He's got a little bit of help. The 35 of Chad Schilling giving him a little bit of a push down the front straightaway. 84 of Kyle Taraska on the inside lane, can't quite clear it. It's going to be the advantage to John Higman Jr. this time by, but again, the inside lane has so far been the place to be tonight, but they're staying pretty even.
A lot of 2-wide racing going on here. Up in the front end, there is another yellow flag on lap 35 in New Smyrna Speedway.
Trouble on the racetrack, and we're going to go back under the yellow flag conditions here as somebody was unable to hang on to it in the corner, and it looks like it was trouble at a turn number 2 for, that is the 23 machine. Going to get sideways and able to hang on to it. That is Jay Horton, I do believe. Actually, trouble in front of him was the 77, and Jay Horton had to avoid it. So it's the 77 of Jay Randall Watkins getting turned by the 15.
There's some hard contact there in the front left. Looks like it bent it a fair bit there. A little bit of unnecessary camber,
to say the least. And you got to think that those guys have some history, or did the 15 just overdrive it and evidently took out the 77? And yeah, Jay Horton in the 23 nailed that 77, and they're both going to pick up some damage, and we're back under the yellow flag, nearly 37 laps into this 125 lap event at the New Smyrna Speedway. Again, Evan Pasoko and Lance Johnson up here in the MW Productions booth, bringing you guys the flag-to-flag coverage this evening. And there's not a lot of things, Lance, that are better than short track racing under the lights. And you can see these guys are, even though it's the first race of the season, they're definitely not planning on taking it easy.
Definitely not, man. You see a lot of aggressive driving here. I mean, we saw it ourselves in the 19th position or so. They were already fighting and digging deep on maybe the 10th lap, trying to spin each other out. You know, I want to get to the front. And, I mean, on this track, I guess 120 some odd laps is going to go by real quick, but a little bit of unnecessary roughness going on if we were speaking football.
For sure, and I think at this point in the race, we have had our fair share of the green flag laps to this extent, but this is definitely not the way that these drivers want to get this thing done. Now, if you're the leader, Cale Gale, no matter how fast your race car is, I'm sure you don't mind just having to go and nail that restart, and then you just get to ride around for a little bit. So it kind of plays into his strategy and holds those guys behind him up, because it doesn't really give them an opportunity to try to get around it. But nonetheless, you don't want the pace car to lead the most laps at the end of the night.
Indeed, indeed. John Higman Jr. going to drop back 2 positions, possibly conserving his tires for the rest of the race. Or maybe, you know, Cale Gale and Jonathan Cadell are some tough competitors up there, really forcing them to work hard. You never know. A lot of different strategies here in New Smyrna tonight. The lights. Lap 40 just ticked by.
Yeah, we are going to shut the lights off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car, and we're going to go on board, I do believe, with the 35 machine of Chad Schilling, and he's going to be starting P5 when we come down to this thing. So that's going to be the inside of row number 3. Going to be taking a look up at the guys in front of him. This time it's going to be somebody else, though. It's going to be the 83 machine is going to take the inside. So Jonathan Cadell in the second spot is going to be on the outside lane. So let's see how Cale Gale negotiates this restart coming out of 4. He waits a lot longer. Green flag flies, and then he goes. So throws a little bit of a different strategy than what we saw the 60 machine do so far, and that checked the guys up behind him, but he really didn't pull away.
Like those other guys were able to. A lot of bumper contact there. Chad Schilling getting into the back of number 60.
Oh, 84.
He's going to spin the 84. Chad Schilling's going to spin.
And that was under yellow. The yellow flag had just flown, and 35 is going to overdrive it, and Kyle Taraska going to go around and get some damage, but that was not the incident. We are under the yellow flag, but that is not the reason that the yellow flag is thrown. One car having some major issues, to say the least. Brian Harvey in the 66 actually bouncing off the 75 machine of Daniel Murphy, who bounced off the wall coming out of turn number 2, and Brian Harvey's Hot Wheels Camaro hard into the inside wall, and he's on the hook headed back to the garage.
We actually saw Matt Lacrosse getting in that secondary wreck that was already right when the caution started there. He actually hit the 84 when he spun out, so a lot of cars in that wreck there. Drivers driving really aggressive right now, nonetheless.
And there's a lot of familiar names here, and there's a lot of guys that run in all of the other real sim racing series. Guys like Schilling, Higman Jr., Cadell, you got Simley, Grosskopf, Matt Lacrosse, Keith Brooks Jr. A lot of guys in here know each other, but then there are a couple drivers that these guys don't race with week in and week out, as this is the first time, obviously, because the Super Late Model just coming out, that RSR is doing a Super Late Model series. So you know that if you race with your buddies a lot, you kind of know how they race. You go out there on the racetrack in a completely new car that you're not normally racing, even with the guys that you know with, and you put guys out there that you never really raced before. It's going to take these guys a couple races before they can kind of figure out, you know, what each other does.
You know, and that kind of factors at Daytona, it factors at short tracks. Any vehicle you're talking about, not knowing how the guy in front of you drives can really play a part in how you drive. And, you know, and another thing on short tracks like New Smyrna, you got to brake at the perfect time. If the guy behind you likes to drive in a little harder, he doesn't know when you're going to brake. He doesn't know your line. You guys don't know each other. So it's really tough, you know. Sometimes you're even scared to hit the brakes too early because you'll get rear-ended. So you'll see a lot of different collisions in this race, mostly because some guys know each other, some guys don't. You don't know anybody's strategy, so it's tough. You really got to read the guy in front of you.
The 2 machine of Dwayne Vinson is going to go around the field, and most likely reclaim his lap, and he is now going to go on back onto the lead lap, so he will be the lucky dog at this extent in the race to get under what I think is our 4th or 5th caution so far this evening at the New Smyrna Speedway, and it is the 5th caution so far. We are doubled up this time by the strike. Lights are going to go off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. It is going to be the 83 of Cale Gale, bringing us back to the green flag. So far, 3 lead changes. Do we set us up for another one? Let's see what Cadell and the 3 can do on the outside lane. Also, the 60 of John Higman Jr. not falling too far back. But again, a lot of these guys that started to creep up to the top of the field, guys like Kyle Tarasca getting involved at that incident, they're going to find themselves at the rear end of the top 10. Through 3 and 4, the pace car going to dive down to the safety of the pit lane. There he goes, Cale Gale. And 83 is going to wait. He's off.
And he gets a huge lead.
He nailed that one a lot better than the other one. He takes off side by side for second. 60 of John Heyman. Oh, a bump by the 3 machine. 3 machine is going to get a shot and a lot of contact for second.
Wow. Side by side going in. That's 3 and 4 here. Cale Gale looking to seal the deal up there in the front. John Higman Jr. going to seal that second place spot, trying to catch up to Cale Gale and take his first position back.
The 83 up front has no objections to this. Almost 3 wide now for second spot. What a run by Cadell on the outside lane. Going to go up to P2, and the more these guys battle behind him. Oh, the 3's going to get a shot. Oh, big checkup 35, 25 now. Of Aaron Groskopf is in the inside wall. Yellow flag.
Huge contact there. Great save by John Higman. Wow. Good racing up in the front for sure.
We're going to slow him back down, and there's that domino game that you talked about that never fun to play at the short tracks, and it's going to be Aaron Groskopf, who was nowhere near those guys going absolutely crazy, 2-3 wide, and he's, again, going to be the one that ends up at a fence.
You know, it's really unfortunate is that Aaron there, number 25 machine, is going to get put into the wall. You know how much I love that number 25, so I want to see him up in the front there, putting that number in the Hall of Fame.
There's absolutely no biased opinion here up at the broadcast booth for the support of the number 25 car this evening.
He's going to pull it into the wall and actually have to tow with a blown engine. That's really unfortunate. You don't really like to see that at short tracks. He's going to get put down a few laps there. We do actually have 2 vehicles that are already retired that are pulling in behind the wall. Possibly getting their secondary vehicles out, possibly not. You got Randall Watkins 14 laps down and Joey Bettina, which is 18 laps down.
So again, several drivers having trouble as a lot of cars down the pit lane for tires and damage repair. The car closest to the front that actually started this off is going to be the 84 Kyle Tarasca down the pit lane. Matt Lacrosse just exiting it. Glenn Campbell is down on pit road. Daniel Murphy's coming off along with Scott Simley, Dwayne Vincent. So pretty much the back half of our lead lap going to come down the pit lane for damage indoor tires in this thing, and starting to approach the halfway point now is under the yellow flag, currently sitting on 52. This time I'm going to be 53. We've got 125 laps this evening. So I mean, Lance, the beginning half of this race has been pretty aggressive, and it's only going to get turned up a notch once we pass the halfway point and, start to get closer to that checker.
From the way it started off from the green flag start, man, it's tough to say how it's going to go. I mean, you and I both know it's going to get more and more aggressive as the race goes. So, I mean, you can look forward to see some good racing, but I think we might be under the yellow blanket here for a good amount of time with the exclusion of some great green flag racing while there is.
Well, cautions breed cautions, and if you don't want to get a yellow, you got to get these guys spread out. But the way they've been racing, they want to go at it each and every lap and continue to battle for every spot.
Yeah, you'll hear me mention it in almost every race that I commentate. Is when there's a caution. Personally, as a driver, I get warmed up when I'm running green flag laps. My hands start to tense up less, and I start to drive with that flow. But these guys, when you get under caution, you get cold, man, and you start worrying when you resume. Like you said, cautions breed cautions, and you're seeing that now. Otherwise, there's some great racing up in the front.
And the lights are off at the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car at the front of this field, and it's going to be, again, Cale Gale going to lead us to the green flag. Jonathan Cadell outside him as it has been, I do believe, the 2 last restarts. So no changes recently up front. We'll see how they negotiated this time by through 3 and 4. Pace car down to the safety of pit lane. Cale Gale is going to wait on it. What does Cadell do? And Cale Gale's going to take off a little bit earlier. He's on.
Wow, that was a great lead by Cale Gale. You know, you see the drivers start revving their engines up behind Cale Gale on the restart. And, you know,
61 gets done. Big wreck now. 4 cars at least, 6, 7, 8. Oh, the whole back half of the field, and it's a parking lot on the back straightaway after contact in turn number 2. The 61 of Denny Clark gets a little bit of help getting around by the 35 machine of Chad Schilling, and they pretty much just piled them on in there.
And it is looking like Monster Jam out here, Evan. I know you're a big fan of monster trucks. You know, we're looking to see Gravedigger come out and stomp some cars.
We got the crush cars ready to rock and roll.
We'll get the tractor out, get some dirt on the track,
and
we'll get some Monster Jam going.
I'll call up my connections. 24, 44, 23, 48, 61, 7, just to name a few of the cars that are involved in that. And the big one going to strike at the back straightaway at New Smyrna.
The big one strikes again.
It almost seems like normally you see more big wrecks at these smaller tracks than you do at, say, the 1.5s.
I'm trying not to, you know, my face is already from smiling here, you know. I personally love big wrecks, man.
Yeah.
Something about a big wreck at a short track just kind of, you know, suits my fancy. And, you know, it's unfortunate to see a lot of these guys hitting the walls like that, but I mean, a lot of these guys are driving a little too hard, in my opinion. And I know I understand it's a points league, and I understand everybody wants to win, but you know, some guys are going way too hard. That's about it. And, I'm a commentator. Also,
so we are under the 7th yellow, yes, though, so far this evening for somewhere in the range of 33 caution laps. So to this extent in the race, again, these guys want to go green flag racing, but I mean, when you're driving this hard, going side by side, especially in these cars, it's very hard to do. So as they run right now, the Goodyear superior performer up at the front of the field is the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car going for max points. Cale Gale's doing a solid job also. He's leading the race portion of this event in the 83 machine, and he looks like he's pretty set up there if he can continue to try to ride these yellow flags out.
Like you said, Evan, they want green flag racing, but they're getting Monster Jam. So
I think half the field is down a lap already.
And word is Gravedigger will be making an appearance after the race and will be crushing cars, so I look forward to that.
Well, the initial plan was they were going to bring in some, but the way the scrap metal's getting torn up, some of these teams just don't even want to bother fixing them because there's a handful of drivers already out. So, you know, stick around after the show for that.
Oh man, my face hurts from this.
And it's not even Sunday. I mean, normally it's Sunday, you know. I can't do the voice for it, but...
Sunday.
Man, it's close.
Wait, hold on, let me see if I can one more time. Sunday.
No, but see, this is why I have trust issues, because it's Wednesday night.
Okay, hold on. Wednesday. We're here. Live.
There you go. Double up in 3 and 4, getting ready for the green flag. Let's give it one more shot. 83 of Cale Gale going to take us back to the green flag. He is off. The 3 of Cadell gets left in it. We're going to go side by side for the second position. The 60 of John Higman Jr. going to go at it side by side with Jonathan Cadell. Cadell's going to get it on the outside lane there too.
Cale Gale looking like Usain Bolt coming off of the start here, like an Olympic sprinter. Definitely pulling away from the pack there, and he keeps doing it time by time, and he's really consistent with his turns tonight, and I'm loving watching him tonight. Great job, Cale.
Up at the number 1 spot, he's pulling away from Jonathan Cadell to this point. Again, the 60 of John Higman Jr. is in 3rd. Now, he started in the number 1 spot, Lance, but he really has never been the fastest car on the track this evening. He was able to protect the number 1 spot, but once he dropped back to 3rd, he's not going any farther back than that, but he really can't make up any ground.
You know, that's where thing comes in, where some drivers can qualify and some drivers can race. And John Higman, obviously a competitor, but possibly not the greatest racer, better qualifier. I mean, he's keeping it up there in 3rd place, which is I'd be happy personally, but you know, I really look forward to seeing him going up to the front and proving me wrong.
And who knows what happens. these super late models don't have a lot of tire wear. But who knows? If we get a long green flag run here to the checkered flag, maybe you'll see that 60 machine come to life. But right now, he's looking pretty solid in the third spot and really doesn't have any challengers behind him. We're side by side for the number 6 spot with the 15 of Keith Brooks Jr. and the 35 of Chad Schilling. And Chad Schilling is going to get that spot on the inside of 1 and 2.
Great pass by Chad Schilling there indeed. You can see these two drivers going at it. Number 15 going to try to get behind him, and it looks like Chad Schilling might pull away.
And the 35 is has a little bit of body modifications, not of his choosing, but he's been in his fair share of incidents this evening, but it doesn't seem like it's affecting the driving of the car of his Ford, because he's trying to drive away and looks like he's doing a pretty good job of trying to open up a little bit of a gap on Keith Brooks Jr. No other side-by-side on the lead lap. Again, only 11 drivers remain on the lead lap to this extent, but we are past the halfway point now, Lance. Maybe with the reduced number of cars, it's looking like we might be getting going for a long green flag run.
Indeed, and like we heard, Chad Schilling driving an open-wheeled modified there, looking after the snazzy with those wheels popping out there. Maybe a little bit more stability there, possibly. I'm not sure. He's got a lot of body maintenance going on.
Crack the system. He's figured out how to make it faster. Just take some weight off. Oh, he just drove it. There's a lap car right in the way. That was the 24 machine of John Ellers, who was 2 laps down, and Chad Schilling nearly just ran into the back of him trying to negotiate that down the back.
His crew chief is possibly thinking about installing the open-wheel modified bumper on the front of his car.
And then he can give him the chrome horn, so officially.
I think somebody's down in the apron there, not sure what happened there. Oh, going into
the 7th. Brian Bibbo, he's 3 laps down, and he has his fair share of damage, and he's going to come down to pit lane to the service of his pit crew. Once he finds his stall, he's going to come in and try to get some damage repair. He is sitting in the 13th position as they run. Cale Gale up front, continuing to pull away now, a half a second in front of Jonathan Cadell in the number 2 spot. Matt Lacrosse is then about 2.5 seconds back, so really top 2 breaking away, but Cale Gale slowly inching further and further away from the number 3 machine. We could have a battle, though, for 3rd here in not too long. The 60 of John Higman Jr., he's staring down Matt Lacrosse.
Now Lacrosse making some good runs here. He came from the back, I believe, but here John Higman Jr. trying to show Matt that Matt doesn't need to be up there, and John wants to take his spot back in first. Matt Lacrosse obviously pulling away a little bit, but got to see a little fight here. John Higman Jr. has some good goals from one of the streams, but just not enough, and we are under yellow.
Trouble on the racetrack, yellow flag gonna fly, and trying to find the cause of that incident as somebody having some trouble on the racetrack, and we'll try to get a number on what car that was momentarily, and it looks like the 7 machine, maybe. I know the 7 machine, I think it is going to be the 7 machine of Brian Bibbo, who we saw in pit lane, Lance, and he tried to stop and go to the garage, but because he stopped, the yellow flag flew.
Yeah, you know, Brian obviously not having the greatest race right now. That's just racing, you know. I guess the race officials didn't like what he did, and gave a caution now because of it. And I'm sure a lot of the leaders, which are now pitting, you see around 6 or 7 cars in there.
The question is going to be, we have not seen our race leaders very up at the front of the field. Keith Brooks Jr., Jonathan Cadell, and Cale Gale going to stay out. Everybody else on the lead lap is going to come down and take tires. So does this really give them, actually the 44 machine of Glenn Campbell is going to stay out as well. But the way these cars are, Lance, do you really think that, I mean, they're obviously going to try to do something because those guys up front are faster than them. Do you think maybe by doing this they got a shot at trying to run up front with those guys?
You know what, Evan, the thing I've noticed with these cars is they get better as the tires melt more. It's definitely weird, but they do seem to improve the longer they run on the tires. So I'm not sure if that's going to really help the outcome of the race here, but Keith Brooks Jr., a guy we have not seen in the top 5 too much this race, rubbing his tires, trying to warm those things up and get all the dirt off of him, and he's looking to take a shot for the lead.
So, I mean, they're throwing something into it. They got to take a shot at something and try to give themselves any sort of opportunity to get the win. And there's one strategy call. So top 4 on the racetrack are going to be on old tires, which may or may not be better. So we'll have to find out, but I definitely think that that's an accurate assumption, and that is that the more laps you get on these tires, they almost pick up some speed, and it's not uncommon to pick up your fastest lap of the race coming in those final 5 laps because you're driving real hard and the tires are just that little bit better. So we'll see how this goes. The lights are still on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. At least one more circuit around. We're inside of 50 laps to go. So does anybody have anything for Cale Gale, Lance?
You know, it's tough, man. Cale Gale's got a tough machine here. I'm torn. I'm not sure, man. Cale Gale and you see Jonathan Cadell there with very nice looking rides there. No damage whatsoever. But Jonathan Cadell having a little bit of damage on his front right there, but nothing that would really drag him down. So I look forward to these two guys going at it near the end if they do not get spun.
And again, these guys going for some hardware this evening. Ray Switter going to be presented a trophy on behalf of MW Productions when it's all said and done. Here we go, Lance. Lights are off on a pace car. We're going into 3 and 4, and let's see how the 83 nails this restart.
83 represented coming around turn 4. Your pace car's away. For 83, you're going to get a huge lead again. Number 3, Jonathan Cadell's going to stick with him here, trying to take that first position. Coming around, we're going to have a little bit of a fight here. The top 2 going at it, trying to pull away from the pack. And number 2 is going to come in. He's not going to get that much roll.
Jonathan Cadell made an effort forward in the corner. He has a little bit of a wiggle out of turn number 4 and is unable to get back up to the number 1 spot as they run right now. Meanwhile, single file all the way back to the 7th place car, the 48 of Kevin Linden has company. That's the 60 of John Hickman Jr., who's been up front all night. Going to go around Linden's machine, so Kevin Linden going to drop back to P8.
John Hickman Jr. moving back pretty far, which is obviously pretty scary for him. A lot of work going on around the 8th position. We look forward to him trying to get out there as fast as he can. And you see a lot of these guys, 3 cars in front of him, all bunching up together, really trying to steal position by position. So he's really going to have to work his butt off here and try to avoid the wrecks here.
Meanwhile, up front, it's all Cale Gale, but Jonathan Cadell he's hanging with him. He's not falling back a lot, but he's not making up any ground. Cale Gale is slowly inching away from that car in the 2nd spot, and 83 is just so strong. And I mean, when you come into the session and you look and you see Cale Gale, you're automatically going to think he's going to be wicked fast here, and he is right now, but almost a sleeper because, I mean, he was 4th fastest in qualifying and 5th fastest in the practice session, but, I mean, he's really picked it up when it came down to race time.
Cale Gale, obviously a great driver and in an unsponsored car from what I can see right now. Unless my trading paints is not loaded, but he's in a red and white unsponsored car, so sponsors out there. We're looking to have a car in the lead. Cale Gale, Jonathan Cadell, and Keith Brooks Jr., Chad Schilling, Dwayne Vincent, all in your top 5. Throw your sponsors on their cars, get a hold of them. It'd be worthwhile.
And Cale Gale in the number 1 spot again has picked up a win in the 2012 NASCAR Camping Road Truck Series race. And I mean, you talk about the sim-wise, you don't really want to go up front and bump Cale Gale's virtual race car around because, I mean, he put Kyle Busch in a wall to win a race. So.
And we're under caution, Evan. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yellow flag and fly. Pace car is pulling out of the pit lane once again, so trying to get tabs on what trouble was caused to bring out this yellow. And one car is on the apron, and the 84 Kyle Tarasca on the apron came down pit lane. I don't think that's the cause of the yellow. Something wrong with that machine, but we're going to group them back up, back under yellow here, Lance.
Try to look and see what we got here. I'm not finding anything. Although I'm not the best wreck finder. I'm good at looking at them, but I'm not good at finding them.
Are you good at causing them?
Well, yeah. I'm not going to chant.
You don't mean to brag.
I can cause a good spin.
We'll just call it debris. Debris caution gonna fly at New Smyrna. Jacques Debris making an appearance. And we're going to group them back up. And yet again, Cale Gale in the 83 has proven that he's the fastest on the racetrack.
John Hickman Jr. is going to come up to the 6th position, obviously trying to make some ground. Matt Lacrosse staying up in the top 5. Trying to, you know, he's sticking around. He's one of those sleepers, like you said. He's got a nice car out there. Going back and forth, man. He's been to the middle of the pack, he's been to the front of the pack, and he's just bouncing around. Another guy that you can look forward to seeing up there a lot in the top 5 for the rest of the race. Lap 91.
You mentioned in just about 10 laps, we're going to be within 25 to go, and there are no green-white checkers in the iRacing service, so it almost comes down to a defensive mode if you're the race leader, because unlike, you know, in a real race where maybe you can set this guy up and wait till the last lap to pass him, that might not be the smartest thing to do in these kind of situations, considering the caution flag can fly, come out of the white flag, and you're done. You don't get a second chance.
Not at all. What's said is said, what's done is done. That's all. You just got to deal with it. And that's a really big factor up here on iRacing. Because a lot of times, some guys will scheme it out. You know, a teammate will take one for the leader if their teammate's in the lead. So you might see a caution on the last few laps.
Bingate at the new Smyrna Speedway.
I am not one of the people that would do that.
Okay. So this is the 9th caution so far. We've run 44 laps out of the 92 under the yellow flag. So a little bit more than half the race has been green flag racing. And again, these guys, they want to go green flag racing. The fans want to see green flag racing. We haven't seen a lot of it. But when we have seen these guys go green lanes, it's been pretty intense.
It really has. You know, I'm having a good time watching it. And that's really what counts. I hope the viewers are having a good time watching it also. As many cautions as there's been, you know, they've done a great job and put on a great show for everybody, and I appreciate it. Good job, guys.
We are doubled up. The lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to go green again. Same way up front as been the last couple ones. Cale Gale going to lead us to the green flag. He is the control car. The 3 of Jonathan Cadell on the outside lane is going to be there, and Cale Gale is going to take off a better start by the 3 of Cadell. He's going to be able to hang on to the 2nd position, but still Cale Gale has a car length lead into the corner side by side for 4th. The 15 machine of Keith Brooks Jr. way up the hill.
Cale Gale just gets huge roll, man. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you watch the guy, he comes in, everybody's in the turn, and he just blows out of the turn like nothing. I don't know what he's got going on there, but it's working for him. Look at that. That's awesome.
So solid and showing what he's got up at the front of the field, and Jonathan Cadell is fast, but it does not look like he's fast enough. So it does appear it's going to be the 83 of Cale Gale's race to lose. Does he make a mistake? And really, at this point, I don't think Jonathan Cadell's machine is equal to that of the 83. So he is definitely in a catbird seat at this point in the race. But with racing, you're not just racing one guy behind you. There's still at least 18, 16 other trucks or so that you need to deal with if you're the race leader, including lap traffic. And we saw a little bit of trouble with that not too long ago with the 24 machine of John Ellers kind of getting in the way when he was a lap down. So Cale Gale just needs to kind of keep his eyes pointed forward and just don't look in the rearview mirror. Just keep on cruising. He's got a 4/10 of a second lead. Clear track in front of him. It's looking good right now for Cale Gale up front.
Exactly. And, you know, Jonathan Cadell's coming with the turn, trying to make an effort. You know, he's throwing it in there a little bit harder than he normally does if he were to be in the front. He's just, you know, you can't get it. Something Cale Gale's doing, he's got his braking and throttle control down to a science, and you know that's a factor on these short tracks. Braking and throttle control is your best friend. And Jonathan Cadell obviously having some great driving skills there, but he's just not enough. You know what I mean? He's almost there, but he's not. You know, Cale Gale pulling away really far now. I think he's gonna possibly seal the deal. I'm putting my bet on him.
So he's trying to close this thing off, and this time by it is 25 laps to go for Cale Gale up at the front of the field. So the question is going to be, again, as it has been these last several restarts, and that is, does Cadell have anything for him? And looking like right now the answer is no, because again, he's just opened up that lead to 7/10 of a second and continues to grow, and he's running such consistent lap times. And that's really where he's beating these guys. You talk about he's real good at rolling in the corner. Again, now up to 8/10 of a second. Just, I mean, really a dominating performance to this extent. And, you know, he was kind of quiet when we started, but, I mean, he's really kicked it up in the second half of the race, trying to run away.
22 laps to go here. He's actually going to lap John Ellers. Sorry, I am the worst at pronouncing the last name, but John Ellers there. He's going to lap him, and John Ellers obviously having a bit of a banged up car in that Nesco 24 machine. And a lot of tough racing right now, a lot of single file racing though. Drivers obviously spreading out a little bit. Cale Gale getting that huge lead, almost a second lead away from the whole pack. He's got that setup down pat at him.
Definitely, and one thing that you talked about at the top of the show is the fixed set that these guys are doing. So it's not like, you know, he has this, the crew has made this magnificent setup. That's all driver skill right there up front.
Indeed, indeed. You know, like I said, I went in there and raced, and I couldn't do it, man. And so I'm looking at this guy like, wow, this guy's some sort of late model superhero, because I can't do that. And to see him pull away from the pack, 1.5 almost seconds away from the whole pack is just incredible. He must have had a lot of practice, and you know, he's really showing that he put it to work. 1.3 seconds away from the pack right now.
He's just pulling away and is really unmatched to this extent. He's knocking off consistent 17.4s. It was a 17.4.16 that time by 17.4.20. Jonathan Cadell is fluctuating between 17.5, 17.6s. So, I mean, just the consistency, the rhythm, you said he has it down to a science, is really benefiting that 83 team, and he's not too far from that checkered flag.
Exactly. I'm looking back into the pack here, and the closest thing to a fight we got here is Scott Simley and Dwayne Vincent. They're going at it here. Going side by side, trying to fight for those positions. 17
They're going to go side by side into 3 and 4. Dwayne Vincent on the inside lane's going to get the advantage around the 68. Scott Simley's got to check up because there's a wall there. He's unable to get it done on the outside lane, and he's going to lose 2 spots. 40 to Kevin Linden around, as well as Dwayne Vincent.
Scott Simley, a guy we haven't really mentioned too often. He's obviously a great driver also. Like every other driver in this race, really struggling to hold on here. You know, his car's looking like it's a little bit slow, maybe not used to the setup. You know, he's pretty banged up, and that's a pretty big factor here. I know short tracks, you can smash walls, smash cars, smash whatever. It'll be fast, but you know, sometimes you can't just keep smashing it. And a lot of drivers getting in those big wrecks throughout the race, and you know, the car sometimes doesn't act the same after one of those big wrecks, which is really unfortunate.
Within 15 laps to go, we are, as everybody on the lead lap, single file at this point. Glenn Campbell going to go one more lap down, or after his first lap down in the 44 machine, which leaves 9 cars on the lead lap, and none of which are in an active battle with each other at this point. So unless we see a yellow here to group these guys back up one more time, it looks like the positions are pretty set. Closest battle on the track right now is going to be for the number 7 spot, with is Dwayne Vincent and the 48 of Kevin Linden. Both those guys got around Scott Simley not too long ago. They do have about 3 car lengths in between those guys, though.
We will see Chad Schilling here and Keith Brooks Jr. going at it. Still pulled away about a car or 2 lengths away, but possibly, like you said, the only real fight that's going on where the drivers really spread out right now, just one by one racing. Chad Schilling pulling away 2 seconds away from the pack. Wow.
He's consistently gaining up there, and the long green flag run that these guys wanted is going to come too little too late for some of them who have, I mean, we got guys several, like 2-3 dozen laps down, and just a rough night for a lot of guys. But one guy who is pretty much enjoying this, he's just out for a joyride, and that is Cale Gale up in the number 1 spot, and within now 10 laps to go, is pretty much home free at this point. 2.1 seconds is now the advantage for the number 83 machine up at the top of the field. So Cale Gale is looking to kick off the RSR Super Late Model Series and be the first ever winner, the inaugural winner in that deal.
And the closest fight we got going on right now is Kevin Linden and Dwayne Vincent. Dwayne Vincent in the number 2 machine, Kevin Linden in the number 48 machine. They're on a car length away from each other. Kevin Linden there getting a little bit of a push coming out of 1 and 2. And you know, I can't really say much about it, man. The race is pretty much sealed up right now at this point, and these guys come into each other and then they pull away from each other. So, you know, great job on everybody for keeping clean for these last bit of laps, and we have 5 to go.
It was a week ago that Steve Burnett took home the Real Sim Racing Exhibition Super Late Model Race, so he's not in this evening's event, but he was able to pick up, if you want to be technical, the first win last week in their exhibition deal. But Cale Gale is getting set to write his name in just yet another history book, and again this time on the iRacing service, as continuing to pull away up front. He's within 5 to go, and this time by the stripe it's going to be 3 to go for Cale Gale.
Wayne Vincent and Kevin Linden starting to get a little bit closer. We might be able to see a bit of a race going on here. They were having to pass a lap car, and that was John Ellers in the Pony 4 machine. And the number 2 of Wayne Vincent looks like he's going to start pulling away again, unfortunately. Cale Gale, 2.717 seconds away from the pack. Great job. I can't say it enough.
Yeah, he's just putting down a solid effort and really dominating, and now within 2 laps to go, and this time through turns number 3 and 4, it is going to be Cale Gale at a turn number 4, and white flag is in the air. One more circuit. It's a race at the New Smyrna Speedway. We are going to finish under green flag conditions. So after starting in the number 4 spot now, as he enters turn number 3, Cale Gale is going to get to the lead and set sail, and he is going to walk away with your winner in the Governor's Cup at New Smyrna Speedway. Cale Gale.
Keith Brooks Jr., Chad Schilling going to have a little bit of a fight here for 5th and 6th, and Keith Brooks Jr. is going to take it for the 5th position.
They had to contact those guys at a turn number 2, and it came right down to the front straightaway between those guys, but it is going to be Keith Brooks Jr. evidently walking away with the victory here, and Cale Gale is going to take the 83 machine and burn it down on the victory lane, or rather on the front straightaway. He's going to burn it down and then pull into the victory lane. 83 is going to do his burnout, and again, just a dominating performance, Lance. There's really nothing else you can say.
That's why I kept stuttering, man. I didn't know what to say, and he made it hard for me, man. He really tested me there because he pulled away like a maniac. 3 seconds away from the pack, and that's not an easy thing to do. And I think everybody knows that on iRacing. It's not easy to pull away 3 seconds all the time, especially with a dominant field. Like, all these drivers are great drivers in here, so for him to do that was a great job, great effort. Great job, guys.
They're going to put down a solid performance, and we're trying to get radio communications hooked up with your race winner, driver of the 83, Cale Gale. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
You're going to walk away with what can at least be described as a dominating performance. And, I mean, you started at the number 4 spot, you got up to P1, and really nobody had anything for you. Well, where do you think, your car was stronger than everybody else that really made a difference up front?
These fixed setup races are a little bit different. So I just found that hugging the bottom line was pretty good. That seemed like where the most grip was at, and it seemed like the car wanted to push just a little bit in the center. So if you overdrove the entry, but if you backed it up just a little bit, it'd rotate really well and try to get the power down as quick as possible coming on exit.
You were able to dominate that for sure, and the big string of yellow flags at the beginning of the race, and then that long green flag run to the end again. You were very consistent, knocking off again, just consistent laps, 17.4s, pretty consistently. The guys behind you, if there was one downfall, that was what their struggle was, and that was they couldn't knock down consistent laps. And you talked about really being able to hug the bottom of the racetrack and giving you that advantage to be able to walk away with this victory. Talk about the competition in this evening's race.
It was a lot of fun. I just pretty well jumped on here. I seen that there was a good race, good league race, and I'll tell you what, I had a lot of fun tonight. I'd like to come back and do some more. I really enjoy the late model cars. I always have, and in real life, I got a lot of experience in super late models. So excited that it came out on iRacing and stuff like that. So I had a good time tonight. A lot of good drivers out there.
And definitely, do you have any shout-outs, sponsors, whoever you want to thank, who makes it happen for the 83 crew?
I just, my little man Camber, he's 6 months now, and my wife, and we're actually snowed in here in North Carolina, so I was able to race tonight.
Well, there you go. Well, congrats on the victory, and maybe we'll see you here again on another Wednesday night up front.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
That is going to be your race winner, driver of the number 83 machine, and it's going to be Cale Gale going to victory lane. And now Lance Johnson is down there on the pit lane, and he is caught up with our second place finisher in the 3 machine, Jonathan Cadell.
Jonathan Cadell, man, qualifying in 3rd position and coming up and finishing 2nd, man, taking 1 position. What was going on with that race, man? You were fighting, came up, and you were just holding on to that 2nd and 3rd position, trying to get up there with Cale, you know? What can you say about the competition in the field tonight?
Left your channel.
Well, I mean, Cale and I were the only 2 that were able to keep our noses clean, it seemed like. Being up front was a place to be. And I gave it all I could to catch up to Cale there, and he just, at the end, I guess he saved his stuff because I was not anywhere close to the level he was on. But the competition level there was pretty stout tonight. I mean, there was a lot of good, hard racing.
You know, I talked about it all night. You know, these tracks are really hard to dial it in with a lot of guys that you do race with, and still a lot of guys that you don't race with. And obviously, a big one happening earlier on in the race, and it's really unfortunate for a lot of these drivers getting in that. But you two really held it off, and I said the whole time that Jonathan Cadell and Cale Gale are really going to be the guys finishing 1st and 2nd. And you know, I was hoping that you'd get up there side by side for the finish, but Cale Gale obviously putting on a great show. Same with yourself. Is there anybody else you'd like to thank while we're here?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the sponsor out there, Scott Beatles at strutmasters.com for sponsoring me, and I'd like to thank the Carolina Tar Heels for canceling their game tonight so I could be out here to race.
All right, buddy. Well, great race. You know, it was really fun watching you, and you put on a great show for us. Thank you.
User was moved to your channel.
We got Evan here going to interview our 3rd place finisher, Matt Lacrosse, number 21 machine.
And that's right, we're down here on the pit lane, and we've caught up with Matt Lacrosse at the number 21 machine. And Matt, a familiar name here at Real Sim Racing, doing something a little bit different here with the super late models. What were you expecting coming into tonight's race?
I was just expecting to have some fun, and that's exactly what I did. I mean, a lot of people I normally don't race with in here tonight, but a lot of familiar faces too. But yeah, I was coming in there to have a good time.
And definitely, you're able to walk home with a 3rd place finish, and with a fixed set, you were 3rd fastest in practice, qualified in the 8th spot. And this race had its fair share of yellows and a lot of beating and banging and spinning. A lot of it coming at a turn number 2. How'd you navigate your way through all that? And you have any close calls?
I had more than a close call or 2. I made contact with probably like everybody, I think, at one time. And I had to go to pit road a couple times to fix a little bit of damage. It was made it a little tight having that damage, so that helped. And yeah, just tried to keep the wheels on it from there on out, and it seemed to work out.
You definitely fast and was kind of in a bubble. You were unable to get to Jonathan Cadell there, coming down to the end, and really at the end there was the first long green flag run that we had seen in the evening, and he was about 0.8 of a second in front of you. Do you think maybe if we had that green flag run last a little bit longer or happen a little bit earlier in the race, you might have been able to get up to P2?
Maybe. I don't know. I was slowly catching him, like maybe a 0.5 every other lap or something like that. I mean, I was slowly getting him, but then again, John was right behind me, and he was catching, staying right with me too. So I don't know. Anything can happen. I'd like to think I could have, but you know, Jonathan's a good racer, so.
And definitely, you planning on coming back next Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, next Wednesday, we are going to be going to Bristol, and that's going to be a show, to say the least. What are you looking forward to there?
Oh, man, I love Bristol. Or I hate Bristol. It all depends.
It's a mix.
Yeah, it's either you love it or you hate it. Most of the time I hate it. I have loved it a couple times, though.
All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to see you there next week. Sponsors and shout-outs to Mike's all yours.
I think Hippies Paint Shop. Check them out on Facebook at Hippies Paint Shop. Do all my paint for me, quick car racing products. I want to thank Aaron for this setup that he made for everyone to use. It was a really, really good setup. I want to thank you guys up in the booth. Thank Michael for putting all this on for us, and yeah.
Well, that is your 3rd place finisher. Matt Lacrosse going to come home with a solid top 3, and he's either going to love it or next week when we go to Bristol. And Lance, you're caught up with our 4th place finisher now, and that's going to be John Higman Jr. in the 60.
John Higman Jr., I've been talking about you majority of the race, man, and you know, obviously qualifying first for the slamming lap was 17.277. You did a great job, and obviously at the start you were getting some, like I said earlier on the race, some Usain Bolt starts there, bolting off from the pack, and unfortunately you lost a few positions. But how was the race for you, man?
It was fun. I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. I would have liked to finish a little better, but it's still some really fun racing with some really good drivers out there, and the car was awesome too. It drove really good.
Yeah, you were driving great the whole time, and I felt like you were fast, but you were just a notch away from being, right up at the front. You know what I mean? You looked like you were going good, and I compliment you for putting on a great show. You're really fighting with a lot of the guys there, and I want to thank you. What was your strategy throughout the whole race? Were you trying to stay at the front, or just kind of relax for the majority of the laps?
Starting out, I just really wanted to stay up there close to the front as possible, because if you got in the back, a track like that, it's just really hard to get by cars, even if they're slower than you, and you can lose a lot of track position that way. Especially if you have a long run or something, they'll get seconds ahead, the leaders will, by the time you can even get to the next position to be able to catch them. So, I tried to stay up front, and had a little run in with the wall about the middle of the race there, and that kind of screwed things up for me, but it was still a good race, fun. I enjoyed it.
Of course, man, and as you may not know, I was talking about how I took a lap or two out there. Evan wants to say I ran one lap, but I'm going to say I ran 2 laps and ended up spinning out trying to run it.
Like a quarter of a lap.
But I just want to...
You made it to turn 1.
All right, guys, come on. I'm a great driver. I understand. And basically, I just want to congratulate you on running a great race and kind of showing everybody that I suck at driving New Smyrna. And is there anybody you'd want to thank for making it happen for you tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my dad, John Higman, and my buddy Jeff Eaton at Eaton Construction, and Tyler Price at TP Graphics.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming out tonight. You put on a great show. Obviously, earlier on in the race, there was some monster trucks going on, some scrap cars, and that's unfortunate for those drivers. But thanks for coming up here in the booth. What's that? Monster Jam. Wait.
That's 2 words.
Construction.
Interesting. That's 2 words. 2 words.
Yeah, you cheated, man.
Grave digger. That's 2 words.
Cheater. Tell me.
You called that one up. Armageddon. Armageddon. There. Nah. Now we're thinking.
Hiroshima explosion. But we have Keith Brooks Jr. up here. Am I right? Am I wrong? I believe we do.
Might have scared him away.
I do. Man, well,
he took off.
5th place finisher at Sadie Red. Hello, Joey. I'll toss you over to Evan over there.
How about the last fish driver, huh?
I know everyone. Joey Katina.
Joey Katina, ladies and gentlemen, going to finish at the number 21 spot in the 14 machine. And Joey, you nearly went a lap down there before the first yellow flag. What was wrong with the 14?
Man, I had calibration issues all night. I think I restarted the computer 5 times. I just was not having it. So when we started, when I fell back, it just wouldn't turn. I'd almost have to stop the car to make the corner. So then I yanked the force feedback out of it, and then I'd have to turn the wheel like 2 rotations to get it to turn the center. And it was doing well up until the point I caught the apron, so whatever. It sucks, but it is what it is.
I had a feeling that there was something wrong with your steering because I was watching you, and it was just... Yeah, like I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know if you hit the wall and it broke something. I felt bad for you, man. But at least you tried to come out, and obviously failures and the hardware held you back. But it was still fun watching you for the time you were out.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, dude.
It was fun watching, man. There was cautions, obviously, but it was fun when there was green flag racing. I even got to talk about monster trucks. It was fun.
Yeah, when's that gonna happen?
Now.
Now? they gotta catch that on pay-per-view.
I think the cars were already totaled too much for the monster trucks to come out.
Well, guys, real fast, I just want to thank y'all for tonight, Evan and Lance, for coming in kind of last minute. Mike, I can't wait to watch the broadcast here shortly, but I'm really excited about Full Throttle Cup on Monday nights being with you guys. Possibility, if it's up to you guys, but we're looking at wanting to broadcast next week the duels and just go ahead through the whole season. We just kicked that around a while ago, so maybe after the broadcast we can talk about it. But really looking forward to this year with you guys, and appreciate tonight.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to, guys. Make sure you guys tune in for the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series. I was able to broadcast the second half of that last year, and these guys always put on a show, maybe a little less beating and banging once they go to the bigger tracks than these, because otherwise that's just a little over the top if they're rubbing each other this hard at Daytona. But Speed Week's coming up here with the Real Sim Racing, and definitely check that out.
Definitely something to look forward to. Obviously, when I say it was monster truck, I mean that big wreck. That was fun to watch. You heard me giggling like a little schoolgirl. But other than that, the green flag racing was awesome, and I had a great time.
Yeah, Lance was he in the same sentence when they piled him in there coming out of the corner. I know that, Lance, you were both in the same sentence describing how awesome that was, and yet how bad it is for the drivers that were in it. Do you like to laugh at other people's misfortune?
Just a tad, man. You know, I kind of get some pleasure out of that. And not
Can we get the replay of Lance's warm-up lap up?
That doesn't exist, obviously.
Ah.
No, it's confidential, man. Anyways, thanks for coming out.
See, I entered as a spectator, so none of you guys can see me my practice runs. So I'm thinking, I just that's my thing. I talk like I know what I'm doing. But, I mean, yeah, it takes a lot of practice, but,
In all reality, your front end's just, melted into the wall.
That's on a good day. That's on a good day.
Well, I've done that. I think I've gotten my car stuck in just about every catch fence there is. But
getting airborne at, like, Martinsville. It's a nice view. There you go.
I can't even tell if we're still live or not, but if so.
Woo!
Wednesday nights with Maniac. Alright, guys, well, I'm going to thank you guys from my end for coming out and watching.
I'll make it sound all pretty. Yeah, that's going to do it here for the New Smyrna Speedway with the Real Sim Racing Super Late Model Series going to come to a close. Cale Gale going to be going to victory lane this evening on behalf of my broadcast partner, Lance Johnson. Thank you for tuning in to MW Productions. We'll see you next week.